Hello guys and girls. Today we're gonna talk about how to make photos that looks very real on the MidJourney. I almost said real photos, but they are not gonna be real photos. But in the end of the video, you're gonna be able to create pretty much a very realistic photo. So I'm very excited about the subject, and one of the reasons I'm very excited about the subject is because it has been very requested. I have seen a lot of questions popping about this all the time on the most of the channels of MidJourney. And I decided that it could be good to cover that. There's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of mistakes, there's a lot of overlaps on prompts, and I hope that I put this very clear. So I will divide this in two parts. On this part here, I will be covering the prompt structure. I will be covering a lot of things about types, angles, lens, and how to deal with the subject and things like that. But I will leave for the second part two elements that can be part of a prompt. One is about film stocks and cameras. Film stock and cameras is this episode would have two hours if I was going to cover that on this part one, and the other one is about photographers. Photographers already. I don't even know if I will cover the part two because photographers pretty much overwrites most of the things the prompt for about it. So it's much more a style thing that we can maybe talk in the near future. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's start. For the first for starting this, please don't get scared. As I always do. This is pretty much the structure of the prompt that we're gonna be working on. Okay, it is a little it seems a little too big, okay, but it's not. It is something that we totally gonna be filling up, and I'm gonna be hold on, let me open the camera here. I'm sorry, and we totally gonna be open each part of this and talking about. Okay, so don't get scared. So types, angles, media, equipment, photographer, subject, activity, and quality, technical and quality. So what we're not going to be covering, we're going to be covering a big part of this, some part of this, but what I'm not covering in the prompt is using photographer, because pretty much as I said, photographer pretty much subscribes a lot of things here, depending on the photographer, depending how trained was the photographer, they can subscribe a lot of things here. So photographer is something that we're not going to be talking on this video, and equipment, I'm going to be talking a lot about equipment, but not exactly about film stocks and cameras. I will explain that. Okay, so let's start. Um, for for this kind of subject as well, which is we want to make a photo. Photo inside in the internal place or portrait is very easy to do. So MidJourney helps you a lot. So what I'm gonna try to do here today, what we're gonna be working on here is a photography of someone in the street. So the prompt that I'm gonna be using for us today is this one here: a man walking in the streets of New York facing the camera. Okay, so let's put here imagine. Okay, a man walking the streets of New York facing the camera. This one here for me it has a lot of elements of complexity that we're going to be able to analyze together, and it is what we need to understand a lot of what you're doing here. So first thing, let me start explaining, because pretty much I just put a man walking the streets of New York facing the camera, and I didn't put anything that's a photo, and it's not. By the way, Midjourney doesn't make photography as a real sense. It makes an illustration that looks very alike a photography. So everything we see on Midjourney is always a illustration painted. It's not even, as by the way, some people believe that is a collage of photos. It's not that. So he's gonna be drawing something. And when I put a man walking the streets of New York, I'm not saying what I'm talking about. They can give me some illustrations. They can give me some different styles. They can give me something that looks like a photo, something that doesn't look like a photo. So it's pretty much such just illustrations. One thing that people do, the first thing that people do when they want to create a photo, is to write down a lot of stuff that they believe that will make them to look like a photo. They will, but a lot of them is just a repetition. I separate here a list of the most common one that people normally use to make a photo. One is photorealism. Photorealism. People put, oh, photorealism. People put real photo, and realistic photo or variations of that. Realistic photo, photorealism, and real photo. Those three things makes the very, very same thing, and I will prove this here now. If I get this prompt here, a man walking the streets of New York facing the camera, and I come here to the end, and I put imagine, oops, imagine, a man walks into New York, put realistic, photo realistic, and by the way, we're gonna be working with aspect ratio 3:2 the whole time, okay? Photorealistic. The other one is real photo, and the other one is photorealism or photorealistic. I will put for photorealistic. Realistic photo, I'm sorry. Realistic photo. Guys, I test many of time all those, and I can assure you, all of them makes the very same thing. So there's no reason for you to make a prompt adding those three together. And I'll prove that, by the way. Let's do this as well. Let's put here all of them together. Real photo, realistic photo, oh, photorealism. Let me see. Photorealism. Um, As you can see now here, yes, they will get more an aspect of a photo, okay? They work, but they will not be different than if you use them. And I will give you the last way, and I will give the right way of doing where to put this. So, as you see here, now let me get the finished one. So, real photo, okay, it gave me more a photo feeling on the image, and it's the very same it's the very same quality as if I have put here. This one is real. Oh, put realistic photo, but it's the same thing as realistic photo. This it gives the very same thing, and this will give the very same thing as photorealism as well that I have here, photorealistic. It gives the pretty much the very same feeling. So all of them gonna make it looks like a picture, and even the one that I'm putting here, all of them together, they pretty much give the very same result. So and quality speaking, all those three terms make the same thing, but you should not use any of those. Yes, because there's one that you're gonna position on the prompt in the right place in the right way that will fix everything, and it will give the same result. This one is imagine, okay? A man walks to New York, and what I'm gonna put here in the beginning is photography. Photography, a man walking to New York face the camera. This is the this now we are putting this informative MidJourney in the beginning already. What is it is the medium. Okay, medium could be different ones, and I will explain some variation of the medium now. But now we're saying photography, and you're gonna see photography at the beginning of the prompt gives the very same result if I put real photo, photorealism, realistic photo, etc., etc. in the beginning of the prompt. So just put in the beginning, and because now we're gonna be starting controlling and obey the right way of doing a prompt, and we are here in the medium. Okay. Um, speaking about the medium here, what we can have together with photography, and that's why it's give you more control. You separate things in a better organized prompt, is the angles. Okay, angles. I will not be covering all the angles here. Okay, I can cover two basic ones that we can use. Let me put here. Imagine. Uh, let's put now. Let me get copy the prompt up here. We can use the photography here. We can use portrait. Portrait photography is pretty much you can make waist up, you can make chest photography, bust photography, you can make different. So, but for the portrait, when we put portrait, we're mostly telling the mid-journey that I want something that normally chest up, belly up, or waist up, or even sometimes they even get the face. So portrait is one of the angles for portrait is one of the angles for photography, and the other one is full body that we're gonna be showing here today. Those two are basic ones that are for photography, but there's many others. There's aerial photography. There is uh, a wide angle, over the shoulder. You can research online angles of photography, and you can put in the beginning. I just will alert about one thing here, and that's such a common mistake that many people do, and unfortunately, I even see videos, some YouTube people doing. One thing that you can put before photography is those terms that I'm talking about, technical, and there are some of those which are not technical. They are aesthetics, and they will change your whole composition, your whole picture. I took note of some here to tell you guys. Things that some people think that is a type of photography, but it's not a type of photography, or it's an angle. For example, wildlife photography, sports photography, fashion photography, fine art photography, food photography, nature photography, travel photography. All those elements, all those names that I'm saying here, they are what we call aesthetics. They will change, they will add elements to the picture. They are not change the angle of the picture or the distance or anything like that. It's not technical one. So if you want to use those things, if you want to make a thing like that, you can use in the when we are specifying the aesthetics, the look and feel of the picture. But when we talk about photo, if you put here, if I put here in the beginning of my prompt, instead of full body photography, I put nature photography, it will put some animals around me, it will put me holding a panda, it will put this kind of things that are aesthetics and not something related with a photo. Okay. Um, so that said, there's one thing that is a middle ground between aesthetics and technical, which is where we specify the era. Okay, and I'll go over that because era, when I specify a year, some kind of technology, I'm specifying both things, type of photography, and also they will give some elements. They give some elements scenario, but we can control that. Okay, so here we go. We have here portrait, as I said, belly up, waist up for a portrait, portrait photography, and full body photography. So this is where we can control that. And as I said, these are not aesthetics. They are not adding any new element to the picture. They're not controlling anything. So they are not being anything that are disturbing the environment of someone walking in New York. Okay. That done. As we speak about the portrait, the full body. So those are things here that stay here at the prompts on angles. Okay. And now let's talk a little bit about type. And this is pretty much what I was talking about, the aesthetics and that they can be very mistaken here. So there is a basic way of understanding that, which is for example, let's say you want to create a black and white. I will use for now on the portrait photography, okay? Just as let's put imagine. Now I can put here put black and white. I can put black and white portrait photography. You could put black and white even other areas, but I'm bringing here everything that configures. Pretty much is configuring the camera that I'm using. Okay, so configuring the photographer and the camera. So it is a black and white photography that I want. So you can do this way here. Okay, and as I said, this black and white doesn't change. I can put black and white underwater. Underwater will change everything. Underwater will change my scenario, will change everything. I cannot put underwater. They will probably even get away New York, I think. So those are things that we're gonna be putting here. But underwater is an aesthetics, as I said, as nature life is aesthetics. It will change a lot of stuff. So black and white now you give me a black and white. And one thing that I can do here, and this is the catchy one, is putting the ear. The ear, for that, if I put here 1940s portrait photography, it will give me as well a photography which is more at the probably black and white and brown and the sepia color, but also will change the whole elements. All those guys here now will be look like different. So here the black and white. So if I want to do a black and white picture, I can just specify black and white portrait. Okay, black and white portrait photography. I'm sorry, black and white photography, black and white portrait photography. But if I use the 1940s, which is also an aesthetic, it will not only change the color, but we also change the whole concept. As you see here, it's already forming guys using hats and pretty much on the aesthetics of the 1940s. So I could put 1980s, 70s, 60s, 2000s. I can put different aesthetics here. All those decimal age are pretty much clear statics that you can use. So if I put here that way, it will pretty much change for 1940s photography, portrait photography. So it gives also the concept of scenarios. So um, that said, now I'm gonna talk about how we can use this technical because 1940s carries a concept of aesthetics. I don't want to use this. So what we want to be using here, and I will come a little chronological now from the beginning to the photography to here. So if we want to do this kind of things, instead of using ear that will give a lot of aesthetics together, let's get here photography, a man facing the camera. Let's get this one here. Oh, let me put the aspect ratio back. Aspect ratio, 3:2. I don't need to be portrait specify. And what I'm gonna be using here before the photography is the first term that I'm gonna be using here is there's a hard one that's called daguerreotype. Daguerreotype was I think was the last name of the guy who created that. Daguerreotype photography is the first type of photography, and then we had the ambrotype photography, ambrotype photography, and then we had the tintype photography. So if I'm going back to the 30s, I think 40s and 50s, probably I can be using all those one here. And with those one here, although they're gonna give me aesthetics because I'm not specifying here, I do can specify aesthetic, and I will prove that. I will get here, for example, since I'm not using the 1940s or 1930s, I will get here, for example, let's get the Umbro type here. Yeah, Umbro type camera. Look at this. Umbro type photography. And I'm gonna face the camera and I'm gonna use it here. Cyberpunk. Let's put something very futuristic. Cyberpunk futuristic. Right? So I'm just saying that's an Umbro type photography. Now it's technical what I'm saying, and I'm asked to be cyberpunk futuristic. If I live only with the term, so here we have the daguerreotypes. I think it's the first one. It's very old. This very damage around. This I think it was some copper plates that they were pictured in, and then we have the ambrotype, which is also very old, and the guys with big hats and go like this. And then we have the team type. I think team type was already a little better. So this is goes pretty much on just that. So see now, since I'm now using the technical term and not the 1940s or something like that, and I'm putting a term which is cyberpunk futuristic, it can mix because it is a technical type of the things that I'm using. If I use here my 1940s and cyberpunk, maybe MidJourney could mix on one of the pixels. We're probably gonna put a mid 1940s look and the cyberpunk look, but here now I do can use a very old camera and giving a futuristic feeling to the picture and things like that. So here I use a daguerreotype with the cyberpunk and futuristic theme. So bear with me like this then. Understand very clearly that, and you're probably gonna see online a lot of this. People using some aesthetic terms as to modulate the photography, but those are not technical. So daguerreotype, ambrotype, tin type, and then we go. Let's get now for the 70s and 80s, and then we have the autochrome photography. I'm getting here straight the forward the copy the. Then we have the autochrome photography. Okay, I mean, speed on New York, autochrome photography. And then we have the Polaroid photography. Very classic as well. I believe there's more types of photography through this research. I'm researching the main ones, more famous ones. And then we have the autochrome photography and the Polaroid photography. Guys, again, let's go back here to the prompt just to make sure. I am talking about this tag here now. Okay, type. Here I show already full body, aerial, wide angle, portrait. It's the angles and the medium photography. We still here. Okay. I'm not talking about the equipment yet. Okay, now we're gonna jump to equipment because so let's see here. So same thing as well. See the autochrome. Since I'm not specifying any aesthetics, it gives me the aesthetics of the time the autochrome was used. MidJourney say, okay, this guy needs autochrome. He's probably talk about that time of I think it's the late 60s, 70s, and same thing it goes here. If they use Polaroid, he's probably talk about also the early 80s and when was that thing happening. So Those are technical terms that pretty much will change the type of photo that is being taken. Okay, beautiful. So now we have Polaroid photography, and we understand a little bit more about type of cameras. Now I'm gonna talk here about lens. And lens is the first part of the equipment. As you see here, I am already using 60 millimeter lens here. In this last two here, I'm sorry, but I will explain why I'm using lens now. Um, I'm not a photographer. I research a lot about this and I tested a lot how MidJourney was reacting to each of those terms. So I'm going to be covering here pretty much four range of lanes. Okay, I will talk about the 35. I will talk about the 60, the 80, and the 120. 60 and 50s they are almost the same on MidJourney. Okay, and the principle of those lens is how much details they're gonna give for each of the distance that they are able to give details and cover the distance. What I'm saying is this: if you are take a picture of a portrait, so like this, someone the chest up, you're probably gonna be using a 35 millimeters. If you're gonna take a close shot, which is also is one of the angles, a close shot, you probably can go into 16 millimeters. And if you're gonna get someone already in mid-range, you can go to 50, 60. And if you get someone more distance, we can go on 80. And if you get someone more distance, we can go 120 for the level of details that we're gonna able to capture. So let's say like this. If I get here and let's say like this. If I'm gonna put just, let's put here, imagine a photography, 35 millimeters lenses, a man walking in the streets of New York face the camera. I'm stopping to talk about lens now because from now on, after those two cameras that I put here, lens will start to make a big difference on the next type of cameras that for new types of, I'm sorry, for the next types of cameras of photography that we're gonna be taking. Okay, so that's why I wanna talk about lens now. So 35 lens, I can put this. I will put here as well for you guys to see the difference. The 60 millimeter lens, I'm not specifying the type yet. I'm just letting they come with different 60 millimeter lens. I'm gonna put here for different tests. I will put full body. I'll put here now full body photography. I will put for 80 millimeters lens, and I will use here full body as well for 120 lens. Let me tell something here. Sometimes people use just the 80 millimeters in the middle of the tag. Sometimes they even put in the end 35, 60, 50. As again, I'm structuring, I'm organizing the prompt for us. MidJourney can read there. By the way, I even have seen some prompts that people put two of them, 35 and 60 or 62 times. That makes no difference. Just need to put one time. And when you specify the lens, you're gonna see a very different results on what you're talking about. Pretty much covering that area. Okay, as I'm saying here. And also gonna happen, and this will be very common since I'm not specifying much about the subject. MidJourney will use some of those terms now to also add in the picture. You see here now they put a guy holding a lens. This will happen, but this is normal by the context of MidJourney. Okay, so let's see here. First one here that I wanted to open with you guys is the 35 millimeter lens. The 35 millimeters will give very good details for close areas. By the way, here I don't have one close. This guy here is the closest one, and you see it becoming very good. Okay, and also as you see, he gonna be the zoom. We're gonna be very good for such distance. After this, everything will be blur. Will be blur and blur. So they are able to give the zoom to the distance here very well. And if you are making a photo, a photo, if you want to make a photo of a model, of a portrait, 35 millimeters is the way to go. Close shot, go 16. So that's pretty much the rule to make amazing photos. So this guy here is pretty much on the range of 35, 50. As you see, is a very good details, give a very good result. This guy here is already getting close to 60, 80. Is in the 80s already, lose a little bit of quality. This guy here lose a lot of quality because he's already in the 80, and this guy here as well is already in 80. So the closest we get, we use 35. You're gonna see that happening here. So now we go for the 60. As you see now, as you see now, the guy in the too close here, they become almost like clear illustration, become weird, right? They lose a little bit of quality of picture. But the guy here now is this guy here is in a very good quality because it is pretty much on good range for 60. This guy here is already in the range for 80. So the more distance your subject is, the 80 now going to be working better here. So then we go for the 80. This guy here is a perfect distance for 80. It is you see it gives a very good details because he is in the right position I would say the right position for a 80. Those guys he's already a little bit too far. 120 would make a better work here, but 80 pretty much can cover as well depending on how you. And then we go for the 80, and then we go for the 80. You see the guy, even the guy distant like this, it becomes very good quality. You see 180, very good quality. By the way, the guy here is holding a camera with a 180 lens, I think. So I don't know. So the guy holding a Canon here. So and this is pretty much what's gonna be happy. So these are 120 lens, 120 lenses, 180 lenses, I think like this. Um, uh, one thing to consider very important now. Now let's go back to the type of cameras. And when I move out of the Polaroid, now going back to the explanation. When I move out from the Polaroid, I'm going to the camera that, by the way, was the most common cameras for the I think more 20, 30 years, which are the SLR cameras. Is those cameras that you have the film, that you get the film and you go to the store to get the photo revelations. So those are the SLR cameras. So if you want to make pictures that look like the 90s, look the 80s, your good shot to go is this one. You can just say SLR. So SLR, by the way, all those terms that I'm using here, for example, now SLR is in the part two. I can replace the SLR for many types of cameras, and I did notice that MidJourney does create different effects for different type of cameras here. I'm using SLR. I'm just saying to MidJourney, I want a generic SLR camera. So he just gonna give the result for SLR. But I could say here I want this specific Nikon or this specific Fujifilm or this specific stock film. I can make a lot of stuff here, but I'm just saying give him the SLR with 60 millimeter lens. Okay, and that's pretty much will give me picture pretty much on the style. I will make twice. Pretty much picturing the style of this 80s and 90s, early 90s. After the SLR, which become more even fun for us, we're gonna have the DSLR. So it's the digital SL, a single lens, something I forgot the R what is. So and then we go for the DSLR. So going for the DSLR cameras, I'm going here. Imagine. Let's put also twice here. I go for the DSLR cameras. By the way, I'm using 60 millimeter lens now because since I'm not specifying the distance of angle, I just do it 60 because it's going to give a generic good quality. So I now go here with the SLR, and as you see here, it's pretty much give those pictures that you go to the store to get the result, right? So those are the SLR, very much also a little bit of aesthetics of 90s, 80s. Those are the SLR pictures, which we have those albums, family albums that you're probably gonna able to see. So these are the SLR pictures. And then we come for the real world. We come for the, I would not say the real world, I come the present. We go for the DSLR cameras, which here again, I'm not specifying which DSLR camera is. So majority is pretty using random cameras for each of those things here. We can specify which DSLR camera we are using on the MidJourney. I'm still studying different cameras for different kind of pictures. Okay, so SLR and DSLR would be the end game for the world we are right now, for the quality we are right now, and then we just start playing here with stock films, and then we start playing here with the cameras. So then we become. I have seen people as well using other terms here for the camera, like the ISO, like the aperture. There's some other terms which I personally see not much result difference. Okay, I see a lot of difference specifying what type of camera I'm using, so which generation of technology I'm using or the type, and that's pretty much go here. So you see when I start using the SLR, I brought to here. I brought to here I'm sorry. I brought two here on the prompt, and I'm using more DSL photography here because this pretty much now is we're gonna be start replacing it in a part two by type of cameras. Okay, so let's get on here now. Let's go back to check the prompt structure here. So we covered the type, the angles, the medium, and now we're talking about talking the equipment here. Okay. Speaking about this equipment that we are using now, DSLR and SLR, one thing that made for a big difference for me on pictures, specifically for pictures, is here now on the technical part. Subject we already covered as well. Photographer, I'm jumping photographer, right? So here the equipment, photographer, I'm jumping. We on technical part, what made a big difference for me when I use picture, for photos, is the HDR term. And I suggest you guys be very careful to use HDR when I use cameras because what HDR make for, I will show you guys what this makes. It don't matter what time I put DSLR, the LSR camera. If I put here on the cameras, on the technology, HDR, it creates to the photos very similar if I put high contrast for illustrations for other kind of pictures. You're gonna see here if I put HDR, it doesn't improve. By the way, it becomes even more fake. It becomes more illustrative and it becomes good because those one here now are very smooth pictures and just specifying photography, DSLR, the right type of lens, you're gonna get the best result for this today. You're gonna see what happened here now when I put HDR. Other quality terms like 8K, illumination, kind of lights, effects. This all valid. You're gonna be playing with. You're gonna understand what works for your composition. But look here, what happens with HDR? HDR is pretty much how to say explodes the contrast, and I don't know why it does that, but it gives very big brights and contrast, which for photos make it very make maybe very artistic, but not so realistic. Realistic. So if you use HDR, so if you are looking to have a more real feeling, we probably don't use the HDR. Gonna give you more real feeling results for the pictures. Be careful to use HDR. HDR here pretty much give also same thing, become very illustrative. So HDR is a suggestion that don't use. Um, Guys, I think this cover pretty much all the basic things about the first part that I wanted to cover here. Going back to the prompt here, just to do a wrap up. And please, if that was good, hit the like button, subscribe for more. But we covered the type that we have, right? So those types, pretty much the type of cameras. We cover here the angles that you can use. I didn't cover all type of angles. There are a lot of type of angles you can research how you can use and there's the medium, which is a photography, use photography. I showed that you don't need to use real photorealism, nothing like this. It helps. You see, we got very real results here. Just use the term photography as a medium. Equipment, I cover the generic terms now, SLR and DSLR, because I'm saving this for the next part two, where we're going to be real deep on type of cameras and stock films. And photographer, I'm not covering at all because if I use photographer here, I pretty much some photographers will replace all this. Oops, they can pretty much replace all this here. They can replace all this and even this a little bit. Okay, so photographer is something that you can use. Shot by. Shot by for me works very well. Shot by Robert Capa, shot by Alan Healing. So shot by works very well for me if I want to use a specific time. Sometimes what works, what I can tell about photographer. So for example, if I'm doing a work for, let's say, Formula One, you can research which was the best photographer for Formula One or for NFL and put the name. It gives a very good results because the MidJourney was very well trained for this type of pictures for that photographer. So yeah, I suggest if you're a specific subject, you can go for the photographer. That's the only hint I can give you on this because it's a very deep subject about styles and subject and technical here. The only technical that I really felt that we can add to the composition that makes difference is HDR. If you find another one that gives a lot of difference, of course, light makes a big difference on the composition as a whole. But I speak about the quality of the picture, HDR, be careful to use. Okay, guys, that's it. I hope you like. I hope it was good. I hope you start to make now real pictures. This is works for pictures inside studios, internal, external. You're gonna learn to use this. Important to use the right angle, the right lens. Important to use the right types of camera. And that's it. See you guys next time. Thank you again, and please subscribe. Please hit the dislike button. Bye bye.